Deep conversations are way more enjoyable to have with other people than shallow conversations like, what's your favorite color? In this video, I'm going to show you how you can have more deep conversations. What's up, guys? Welcome to Adulting with Esther, the show where we talk about the things that you don't learn in school. I'm your host, Esther, and today we're going to be talking about how you can have more deep conversations in your own life and the 3 things you need to do to be able to get there. If you're new here, welcome! Consider subscribing down below, and if at any point during the video you want to check out the description, you can find things like product links, references to other videos, timestamps if you want to skip ahead. And if you hang around till the end of the video, I'm going to share with you how you can politely disagree with someone else and still win them over to your way of thinking. The first thing you need to do is go into the conversation willing to listen. Listen with curiosity. Listen to gain perspective, meaning take those preconceived ideas that you have, that you've learned in your life, rip them out of your brain, and put them aside for a little while. When you do that, you'll be able to stop defending your ideas and give them quality listening time, which will help you get a foundation and deeper understanding of their ideas and perspective on the world. When you go into any conversation, you should be listening to gain understanding instead of listening to respond. And if you're not sure if that's something you do, if you're a person who notices that you interrupt more than others, you're listening to respond. A good practice is to focus on giving a person 150% focus when they're talking, and then after they're done talking, think about it for a second. It's okay to have a few seconds of pause time while you're processing before you speak back to them. In fact, your speaker will think you're a really considerate listener and want to share more with you. If you'd like to know more about being a good listener, I have an entire video dedicated to it that I'm sure will give you more value. The fact is, if you put your energy into understanding them, you will be spending less time putting your energy into being understood. And that will come once you gain their understanding. Crazy, right? Don't forget to hang around till the end of the video. I'm going to be sharing my bonus secret with you on how you can disagree with somebody. The second thing you can do to be able to make more deep conversations happen for you is by asking good questions. Good questions are questions that dig deeper and are much different than surface level fact questions. If you're not sure what a good question is, if it could be answered with a yes or a no, or one word, that's not going to allow you to go into a deep conversation. One strategy for asking good questions is coming into a conversation being well informed. Typically, we know when we're going to engage with others of whom we'd like to have deep conversations with. Prior to those hangouts or networking meetings, you can invest a little bit of time in doing some research into the topics that you find interesting and would love to explore deeper. When you're more informed about a topic, you are able to contribute more. But in addition to being able to contribute more, you're able to ask better questions like, what do you think about this new policy? Or have you considered what might happen if we were to? Hypothetical questions are a great way to get people talking because there's really no right answer because it hasn't happened. Just remember, in all of these conversations, your goal is to have a deep conversation in which you are listening to the other person, and your job is to hear and understand, not to respond. A tricky thing that a lot of people run into when they're being a good listener is they turn into interview mode. And you've probably noticed this when a person gives you a response after you ask them a really thoughtful question, and you don't want to be selfish, and it turns into you just grilling them, asking them questions over and 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 over again. As you're asking these good questions, you might find that maybe the person doesn't want to answer them. In those situations, you can give empathetic responses. That might look like you interpreting their ideas and regurgitating what they said a little bit before you ask the next question. For example, if I was speaking with a coworker and they shared with me a struggle that they're having in their day-to-day work, instead of just asking them another question and going into interview mode, I could respond by saying, "Wow, that must be really frustrating. I can't even imagine having to go through that every single day. Have you talked to your boss or your manager about that yet? There has to be something they could do to help you." Did you see how I gave them some statements that showed that I was listening and processing the information they'd shared with me before I asked them another question? It not only shows that I'm a good listener, but it makes me look like an active listener that can contribute in the conversation, and it gives me some airtime to share what I feel about their situation. And hey, if you're getting value out of this so far, go ahead and hit that like button. But now the third thing, how do you get there? All of these ideas are so great, but none of them work well unless you're actually in a situation where you can have these deep conversations. You can get to deep conversations by starting out by building rapport. You can build rapport by finding common ground. Start with something simple like a compliment. A genuine compliment. People aren't stupid, they can tell when it's fake. But simply approaching someone and admiring something that they do will not only make them feel great and want to talk to you more, it'll help you find a thing that you can both share interest in. And you can ask more questions, which will lead to a deep conversation. Here's an example. Oh my gosh, your hair is gorgeous. What products do you use? The ringlets on it are perfect. See, I'm genuinely interested because I have curly hair and that's something I can connect with that person over. Then I can follow up with questions like what salon do they go to? Maybe how much they even pay for their haircuts? What's the other products they've tried in the past? Is this the way they typically deal with their hair? And I can establish that rapport. You might find more commonality over things like someone's beard, their clothes, or maybe even the fact that you both work at the same location. Once you've got that conversation starter going, you can further this rapport by doing two very simple things: giving them your undivided attention and smiling. You'd be surprised how far a smile can go. People want to talk to people that are happy, not people that are grouchy and crabby and all those awful things. I hate the world. Be a happy person and people will want to be around you. When people laugh and smile, it releases endorphins in their body that chemically changes their brain and makes them feel good. And they associate that good feeling with you. You can bring up humor in conversations with people you just met and with people that you've known forever by simply talking about the slightly amusing things that occur to you throughout your day. Something that you did that was a little funny, something that you saw, or something that you're doing. People enjoy laughing at the commonalities they have and the struggles they're going through in life. One great humor thing that I always go to is my cats, and here's what they do. And people always see me do this, and I do this in real life, and maybe you don't tell stories like me. My cats always get up on the countertops, and whenever they want to be fed, they always knock things down, and it drives me and my husband nuts. And so when I'm talking to other people, this is a story that pretty much anybody that has a cat can relate to, and if they don't have a cat, they're into it because it's hilarious. So my cats will get up on the counters when it's around 4 o'clock in the afternoon because that's when they like to be fed. And when they get up there, they look at me. And I use my mommy voice like, no, it's not time to eat yet. And she just looks at me. And then I see her go, knocks it off. And she just goes down the counter and knocks off every single thing, and it drives me nuts. Now, other ways that you can bring humor into the conversation are amusing, funny things that you saw happen at the office, things that are happening with your family, or even with your pets. Whatever topics you used to joke about in this conversation, aim to keep them positive and lighthearted. It's best to stay away from the more negative things that you can laugh at, like making fun of others, talking badly about other people, secrets, or even threats. Even though you might be laughing about these topics, those are negative things, and it's going to make your listener wonder, will this person talk about me this way after I walk away? So aim to keep the conversation positive. But now you really would like to transition your conversation into something more deep, and that's where you need to bring in the ambitions and hopes and dreams. Using the information that you gathered from that person by listening to them when you were establishing rapport and having a humorous exchange, you can seek out little tiny pieces of information that will allow you to dive deeper. Maybe they told you a funny story about how they were painting and they spilled paint all over their house and then their kid walked through it, leaving blue footprints all over their home. They chose to paint during their free time. You can assume that that's probably a hobby of theirs. Go ahead and ask, is that their passion? If it's not their passion, how did they end up doing what they're doing now? When people share their stories and their memories and their experiences, you're able to learn more about them and know them more deeply, which is by definition a deep conversation. Sometimes, depending on the type of event you're at, you might find that the other person isn't willing to share that deeply in the conversation. Use your awareness, read the room. If a deep conversation isn't appropriate there, don't try and do it. If it is an appropriate venue, then if you're wanting to have a deep conversation, you should be willing to meet them halfway. You can do that by being willing to prompt them with questions and ideas, as well as model what being vulnerable looks like. If you want a person to open up their heart to you, you'll have to do it as well. You can do this by simply sharing a story of your memories, beliefs, or experiences from the past. Connect that moment to what you're experiencing together in that venue right now. Then use that information to ask them a question. Here's an example. Let's imagine you're at your significant other's office work party for the holidays. People have already covered the basic small talk in the conversation. I'm ready to take it a little bit deeper. I might say something like, wow, have you noticed the amount of people wearing dresses here? I'm really surprised given that it's -10 degrees outside. You know, people always make fun of me because I'm from Alaska and I am so cold all the time. Where are you guys from? Where did you grow up? Now people are going to want to start sharing stories from their childhood about where they grew up, and we can all connect again over a shared experience. Question of the day, how can a deep conversation help you? Let me know your answer down in the comments. We're at the end, and now you want to know how to disagree with someone. This will only work assuming that you have heard their full perspective and actually listened to their ideas and insight. After this entire time, if you've decided that you do disagree, let them know and say so. But in doing so, be sure that you sympathize with their point of view. Here's something that you could say. Wow, that's really different than anything I've ever thought before. But I'm sure if I had your perspective, I'd probably feel the same way. It's important to realize that this will only work if you are authentic in what you're saying and you truthfully believe it. And you should. Because the fact is, if you were that other person with their perspective and you understood the world the way they did, you would make the same choice as them because you would be them. And this is the choice they're making now. So in telling them that if you had their perspective, you would view this idea the same way, you are truthfully sharing your feelings, but still disagreeing with them. At this point in time, you can start to dig deeper with questions to understand their motivations as to why. And who knows, maybe you'll find that your common ground overlaps more than you originally thought. All right, friends, we went real deep in this conversation. We talked about how you need to go in to be a listener. We talked about how you need to ask good questions if you want to have a deep conversation. And we talked about the path to get there by using rapport and humor and sharing positive anecdotes that allow you to find a common ground. If you'd like to see more videos like this, click the subscribe button down below. And if you like this video, hit that like button. All right, friends, see you later.